Hi everyone, this is Annindita Palaus, and today's Facebook Live video is about overcoming loneliness. And loneliness is something that people are feeling very strongly these days during the pandemic. But it is not something that people have only started feeling just because of the lockdown or the pandemic. It is something that people have felt even before the lockdown. But sure, these days I see people feeling lonely even more just because of social distancing and the feeling of isolation has just increased. And that's why I decided to do this Facebook Live video on how to overcome loneliness. But before we start talking about overcoming loneliness, let's first take a look at understanding the psychology of loneliness. And when I say psychology, I don't mean textbook psychology because I'm not a psychologist. So that was my little disclaimer over there. It's not really textbook psychology that I'm talking about, but what I mean by the psychology of loneliness is, why do people feel lonely? What is the root cause, or what is at the core of feeling lonely? And what I'm about to share is completely based upon, sorry, there's something on my screen here. So what I'm about to share is totally based upon my own personal experience. And my experience from my own life based on what I have learned and based on what I have experienced from working with my coaching clients over the years. So if there's something that resonates with you, that's great. Like it, share it. If it doesn't resonate with you, then feel free to ignore it. But this is really what I feel is at the core of feeling lonely. That these days we have all become extremely dependent upon outside approval and attention for feeling whole and complete. I feel like that is one of the primary reasons for feeling lonely. And another reason that I feel is the need for constant outside stimulation. And I will be elaborating more on both of them. So coming to the first point, the constant need for outside approval and attention. The reason we have become so dependent upon outside approval and attention is because at some level we feel that we are not enough. At some level we feel that somehow we are incomplete and we need something or somebody from outside to make us complete again, to make us feel enough again. I often wonder that there are places in the world right now, even before the quarantine, even before the pandemic, where the population is so less that you don't get to, if you're living there, then you don't really get to see many people on a daily basis. There are homes which are like miles apart from each other. And even monks. Now, sure, of course, we are not monks, we are not saints. And I'm not expecting anybody to become a monk or saint. I'm not expecting myself to be becoming a monk. But still, coming to think about it, how do monks live their entire life in what we can call as isolation and yet be one of the happiest people in the world? And nobody is born a monk, nobody is born a saint. They're all born humans like you and me. So what is it that they are doing so different that even when they are in isolation, they are experiencing absolute bliss and not loneliness? And there are people in different parts of the world too, where the population is so less that they don't get to see too many people on a daily basis. They don't even have Wi-Fi or high-speed internet on a daily basis. So they are not even online, constantly keeping themselves busy. And yet, a lot of those people are doing absolutely fine and not complaining about loneliness or sadness or feeling isolated and depressed and sad as a result of that. So what is it that makes the difference? How come some people are able to cope with isolation better than others? And I feel that one of the reasons is the feeling of too much outside dependency for attention and approval. And that often comes from a feeling of not feeling worthy enough. And now, sometimes people like to blame their parents or their teachers, maybe just their surroundings, their relatives, friends, siblings, whoever it is, for them growing up and feeling not enough. And while that might be true, but as long as we keep blaming somebody else for our problems, for our limitations, we keep ourselves stuck at a very disempowered position. Because blaming somebody else might make you feel good for a short period of time, but in the long run, it's not really going to add to your joy or your happiness levels at all. In fact, it's just going to keep you stuck. So yeah, you might want to blame your parents, your siblings, or whoever it is that you like blaming for feeling unworthy, insecure, not enough in your life. But at the end of the day, what I have really noticed is that the reason we feel not enough is because we have identified very deeply with our bodies, with our minds, and with our emotions. We have come to believe that we are our body, we are our thoughts, and we are our emotions. And the reason this becomes a problem is because it's like saying that I am my house, I am my dress, or I am my car. But we don't really talk like that, do we? However, we do behave as if I am this body, I am my thoughts, and I am my emotions. And when we start identifying with our body, with our mind, with our emotions, we start feeling very limited. You must have heard a lot of spiritual speakers and spiritual teachers, or even books, written on how we are eternal beings, talking about how we have unlimited potential and we are infinite beings. But I can guarantee you one thing, that right now, if I live on the 5th floor of a condo, and if I jump from this 5th floor, I'm not going to be an eternal being for long. I can guarantee you that. So as long as we are identified with our body to be ourself, we feel limited, because guess what? The body is limited. The body is very fragile. So, all those teachers who talk about we being infinite beings, they are definitely not talking about the body, or they're definitely not talking about your minds or even your emotions. They're talking about who you truly are as pure awareness and pure energy. But when we forget that and we identify with our body and with our minds and with our emotions so much that we start thinking that we are our body, we are our minds and our emotions, then what happens is we start looking for ways to justify and validate all our thoughts and our emotions. We think that just because there is a thought in our minds, it must be real, it must be true, it must be meaningful, it must be valid, you must justify it, and you must be right. And when we get so hung up with our thoughts and with our emotions that we lose focus of the bigger picture, we forget who we truly are, and we keep on focusing a lot of our energy and efforts on going around and explaining to everybody why your anger is right, why your frustration is right, why your sadness is right, why your depression is right, why your loneliness is valid. Whatever emotion or whatever thoughts you might be having, we just hold on to them. We don't want to let go of them because they are ours, they are our possessions, and we are them. So that's why there is this inability to let go of thoughts and emotions that are not even serving us, and yet we are holding on to them because they are my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, and they are valid, and I'm going to prove them to you that they are valid. We become very adamant on proving how right we are, and we forget that what is more important, to be right or to be happy. And that is why when we get too attached to our mind, body, and emotions, we lose track of who we truly are, and that makes us feel incomplete. That makes us feel not enough. And when we are not enough, we try to fill in that void by getting things from outside, whether it is people, whether it is food, whether it is drinks, whether it is sex, money, whatever it is. But when we feel that inner void, we try to fill it up with people and things from outside. And that leads to the excessive dependency on outside approval and attention. And, different social media platforms today like Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and all these are thriving because, they are pretty much building up on people's insecurities and people's need, the innate need to be seen, to be watched, to be observed, and approval. And there is nothing wrong with getting people's attention. There is nothing wrong with getting people's approval. But the thing is, when you are totally dependent on outside things and events and people for your approval, for feeling enough, for feeling worthy, for feeling loved, then that never serves you, because that ends up making you feel lonely when you don't get it. And the second thing that I was talking about is the excessive dependency on outside stimulation in order to feel alive. In today's day and age, we have become so consumed with the idea of keeping ourselves busy. Modern life is just busy life. There is no ease in the mind body. It's just constantly busy with something. So either people are sitting on their laptops, or they're watching TV, or on the cell phone with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. But there is always something, there's this inner need for constant stimulation, for constant entertainment, that we have become so dependent on outside world to constantly keep us stimulated. And not just on people and events and things from outside, but even our lifestyle and our dietary choices have become such that just overstimulates our nervous system. For instance, excessively caffeinated drinks and foods overstimulates our nervous system. And it's not just caffeine. There are plenty of other foods too that overstimulates your nervous system. And over a period of time, this kind of overstimulation is not good, because it numbs you. It numbs you to subtle life force energies. And what that means is you become incapable of taking your joy or taking pleasure from the simpler things of life. Because now, for you to feel alive or energized or happy or joyful, you need a lot of stimulation to feel even alive. And that's why there is so much dependency on, these days on alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, caffeinated drinks, food, that gives that instant high, but eventually it just numbs you, and you then need to keep on constantly having more and more and more of that to give you the same feeling of high again. And the reason we need so much outside stimulation is because, again, we have become so dependent on our happiness, on everything that is outside of us. We feel this void inside, which we are trying to constantly fill from things outside. And so there is these adventure sports. The more dangerous it is, the better it is, because it makes people feel alive again, because we have numbed our senses so much that now we need more and more extreme measures, extreme sports, extreme adventure sports to make us feel something, anything, in fact. So that is what I believe are the two main reasons which is at the core of people feeling lonely. Too much dependence on outside stimulation, and when that stimulation goes missing, like it is missing during the pandemic, restaurants shut down, movie theaters shut down, travel became very limited. So, that too much dependency on outside stimulation for your happiness, and too much dependency on outside approval and attention from outside in order to feel whole and complete, because we have identified so much with our bodies, with our thoughts, and with our emotions, that we feel that we are this body. We feel we are our thoughts and we are our emotions, but the body is limited. And when we identify with something that is limited, that will always make us feel not enough. And when we feel not enough, we don't realize what the core reason is behind that, and we go around looking for things outside of us to fill in that inner void. So now that we understand what the core reason of loneliness is, what are some of the things that you could possibly start doing starting today to overcome loneliness if there's something that has been bothering you lately? So in my opinion, one of the easiest things that you could start doing is meditation. Meditation, because cultivating inner stillness is a powerful way to create a dynamic outward life. For a lot of people, meditation is something very boring, but it doesn't have to be. But I also want to clarify that meditation is not really entertainment. So don't go to meditation looking for entertainment, because it is not entertainment. It is supposed to be relaxing. It is supposed to be calming. The sole purpose of meditation is really to bring more ease into your life and to get you more in connection with who you truly are, and less in touch with identification with the body, the mind, and your emotions, which are not even yours to begin with. We think we are our thoughts and emotions, when all of them are really just programmed thoughts and emotions that we take on from our parents, from even from the time that we are in our mother's womb. We take on a lot of energetic imprints, But without going into too much details into that, all these temporary things that we have come to identify ourselves with our body, with our mind and emotions, thinking that this is what I am. Meditation helps you to see beyond that and really get in touch with who you truly are. Secondly, just becoming more aware, just bringing in more consciousness on a daily basis, and just reminding yourself from time to time, maybe you can even use this as a mantra: I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not my emotions. In fact, a lot of spiritual teachers in the East, they teach using the mantra, I am not the body, I am not the mind, as a focus mantra to focus during meditation. So if there's something that you like, you can do it. You can focus on this mantra during meditation as well. Some spiritual teachers from the East also talk about self-inquiry, that is by meditating on the question, who am I? If that is something that resonates with you, then you could do that too. Some teachers teach just meditating on the verse, I am. Some teachers even teach only meditating on the word I. So you have options to choose from. Pick whatever you like. So meditation, bringing more conscious awareness into your daily life, conscious awareness and consciously focusing on the thought that I am not the body, I am not the mind. Thirdly, becoming more mindful of what you put inside your body, because it does matter what you put inside your body. Some of the foods that we have on a daily basis are literally numbing us, and even though temporarily they give us this emotional high and makes us feel good, but in the long run it just numbs us emotionally and it decreases our ability to feel life. And that's why we have to rely on more and more and more of outside things, and we are no more able to take pleasure from simple things in life. I'll not get too much into the details of diet, but if there's something that you are interested in, then I would highly recommend reading the book Ageless Body, Timeless Mind by Deepak Chopra. And there are plenty of other books too, which is on Ayurveda, that talks about foods which are Rajasic and Tamasic in nature. Rajasic foods are foods that agitates your mind and body, the nervous stimulants, and Tamasic foods are foods that brings about lethargy and laziness. So these foods, in the long run, they would increase your dependency on things, on more outside stimulation, and it would reduce your ability to enjoy simple things in life, to get pleasure from simple things. And what happens when you stop getting pleasure from simple things is that, of course, you're more dependent on outside things, and in the absence of those things, you feel lonely, miserable, sad, depressed, and a whole lot of other things. Fourthly, consciously bring into your awareness all the things that you can enjoy without even having anybody in your life. Things that you can enjoy all by yourself. Things that you don't need 10 people to be surrounding you in order for you to be enjoying it. Like a massage. You don't need 10 people in your life who really love you in order for you to enjoy a massage. Or, your favorite ice cream, your favorite dessert. You don't need a special someone in your life in order for you to enjoy your favorite dessert. I know I love ice creams, and I don't really need anybody with me in order for me to enjoy my ice cream. Because when I put that ice cream in my mouth, guess who's getting all the deliciousness? It's me. So even at sunset, watching a beautiful sunset, who's the one who gets the pleasure or the beauty, the peace or the joy that you experience from watching a beautiful sunrise or a sunset? It's really you. Of course, it is nice to have somebody by your side to experience all these things with, but that is like the icing on the cake. But you are the cake. The icing is just extra. And the fifth point that I would say is, stop seeing life as black and white, because it is not. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people have bought into a lot of social norms, and they have, somehow convinced themselves that they need to have a boyfriend by this age. They need to have a committed relationship by this age. They need to be married by this age, have kids by this age, have a house by this age. And when we buy into all these do's and don'ts that our families or the society or our relatives or our peers have imposed upon us, then in the long run it doesn't help, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people who are absolutely happy being single all their life. but often they get pressurized by society, and then they jump into a relationship or jump into a marriage that just makes them miserable, when they are just far better just being single. And in order to not get influenced by your peers, by the society, by your family, I feel like it is very important that before making an important decision, like whether you should get into a relationship or not, whether you should get married or not, whether you should get engaged or not, or maybe changing your career or starting a new career, it is always a good idea to take a few days off and just go away from your regular peer group, from your friends, your family. Just go away and do what I call as a social detox. So just completely disconnect from the world, disconnect from social media, not like regularly calling up your parents or your friends and giving them constant update. Complete disconnection from the world and just complete connection with your own self. And take that time to really understand, what do you want in life? Where do you want your life to go? What is your vision for your life? And what is it that you really want to do right now with your life? Do you want to start a new relationship? Do you want to get married? Do you want to change your career? What career do you want to get into? It is very important to be able to make these important decisions without outside influence, because as long as we are surrounded by people, it is hard to not get influenced. So those were my 5 tips for dealing with loneliness. And the reason these things work, these 5 things work, I'm not saying that it will start working from the very first day. If you start working on these 5 steps, don't expect that there will be a miracle in one day. So for some people, it might take a week. For some, it might take a month. For a few, it might take a few months. But what I can assure is that it is going to work, because the reason it works is because meditation and living your life more consciously, that really just allows you to get in touch with who you truly are. And the more you start seeing the separation between who you previously thought you were, your body, your mind, and your emotions, you start seeing what is beyond that illusion. You start seeing that you are pure potential, that you are pure awareness, and that is unlimited. And when you start seeing yourself as that unlimited being, then you are no more dependent upon outside things to stimulate you, to entertain you, to make you feel whole and complete again. And when you don't feel incomplete anymore, you don't feel lonely anymore. So that was my 5 tips for today for overcoming loneliness. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you liked it, then like my Facebook page if you like watching these videos, because I tend to do the Facebook Live videos once a month for the time being. And you could also subscribe to my YouTube channel, that is Annindita Palaus TV. I will be posting a replay of this video on my YouTube channel as well. Bye for now. Have a great evening, or have a great morning wherever you're from. Bye.